Hey everybody, this is GGB Coles Puppers, and it's time for college basketball upset of the day, Wednesday edition. So let's go over the Tuesday games real quick. Obviously, we had Northeastern taking on number 9 West Virginia. I don't know what to say on this one. Kind of happened what we thought would happen. I don't think West Virginia is a great basketball team, but I think they're good enough to beat Northeastern, as 4 other teams had already done already. Central Arkansas was again dominated by Baylor, who has now had 4 out of their 7 games over 90 points, which is really impressive for a basketball team. Miami took on number 24 Virginia Tech, and while this was close near the end, Virginia Tech was able to pull it out, move to 8-1 on the year, while Miami slipped to a lowly 4-3, and again have not beaten a top 25 team since 2017, which is a really long time to have never gone and beaten an AP top 25 team, which is weird. Purdue at number 14, Rutgers. This game was close for a long time. Purdue took the lead, then Rutgers took the lead, and again, eventually Rutgers was able to pull it out. And it's almost impossible to beat Rutgers at home. Not going to blame Purdue really that much for this one. But Purdue moves to 7-4, looking a little bit worse every day. I don't know if Purdue's got to get a quality win soon. Their best win's over Maryland, while it is still a pretty good win, not AP top 25. So it's definitely going to be interesting moving forward to see Purdue's situations develop. So Florida State was traveling to Clemson, and this was my upset of the day. I got a point off of this. Thank you, Clemson, for taking care of business against the Seminoles. And the Tigers ended up pulling off the upset and got me a point. So thank goodness for them. International World obviously did not put up much of a fight against number 13 Texas Tech. Got dominated, really. This was a really interesting one. And I forgot that typically, along with SMU, Tulsa normally gives Houston the biggest fight. And I would have actually said this was going to be a closer game, but I honestly did think Houston was still going to come out on top. Forgot to mention that in yesterday's episode. But Houston did not come out on top. If you didn't watch the game, it was a crazy ending. Houston had the ball back with 20 seconds left. They put up a contested 3. It missed, but it hit a Tulsa player's hand, went out of bounds. Houston got another shot at it, and with 11 seconds left, they drained a 2. A pretty good shot, too. With 6 seconds left, Tulsa inbounded it, got all the way down the court, and got fouled with 0.1 seconds left. Tulsa made both their free shots and walked away, and came away at home with a 1-point victory over a previously undefeated Houston team. Very, very good win by Tulsa. And honestly, I think the American's starting to look really good now. You have Houston, obviously. UCF's a really good team. Tulsa's emerging as a contender. And then I think a lot of people overlook SMU, who's right now sitting at 5-0, play Temple tomorrow, and I bet move to 6-0. And they play Houston next week for a chance to really prove themselves. It's going to be definitely interesting in the American this year. I think it's going to be a really good basketball conference, way better than, in my opinion, the SEC and the Pac-12. I think a lot of teams should make it from the American, but that's just me personally. I also think a lot of Big Ten teams should make it. Big 12, ACC, American. Those are the 4 conferences I think a lot of teams should come through. Dixie State played at number 1 Gonzaga. What you expected to happen happened. Dixie State got absolutely pummeled by Gonzaga. And Northwestern took on number 10 Iowa. I thought this was going to be a closer game. But Iowa absolutely clobbered Northwestern. I think they were upset from losing in the double overtime to Minnesota. And they just decided to take it all out of Northwestern. And dang, they did. It was a clobbering. And it was really weird. Garza didn't score over 20 points, which is normally a day that you would lose if you're Iowa, but Iowa really dominated on defense and played. Their other players played really well, so props to the Iowa Hawkeyes. People were questioning whether they should be in the top 10. I 100% believe they are a top 10 caliber team. Very good very good basketball team, in my opinion. Now, moving on to Wednesday's games, there are 4 games involving top 25 teams. 5 top 25 teams are playing today, so let's get straight into it. 2 o'clock, we have the Alcorn State, who was sitting at 0-4, taking on number 2 Baylor. And while this is Baylor's second day playing in a row, which normally does have some fatigue on the team, this is Alcorn State. While the line has not been set yet for this game, I'm going to go on a limb and say the completely defeated Alcorn State is not going to upset number 2 Baylor. Just going to go out on a limb there and say this isn't going to be a very good game. Obviously, I'm not going to pick it for my upset of the day. Now, There's two games that I've seriously considered picking today, and this is the first one. You had number 23 Virginia taking on Notre Dame, and if any of you who've watched this series for a decent amount of time know that I think three teams are severely overrated: West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Virginia. Now, I believe Virginia is just getting props because they are Virginia, even though they have played. That game against Kent State was not good. That game should not have been close, and Kent State almost won it, and it took it to overtime. That's not a good game, and if you had gotten a good win, then I would forgive you for it, but you have not gotten a good win yet, and it's just, so I don't trust you. I have absolutely no faith in the Cavaliers, absolutely none. And Notre Dame has upset some teams this year, almost upset Ohio State, a team that I think is very good. They beat Kentucky, a team that I think is going to eventually get it together. Have not done that quite yet, but I believe the Wildcats will start getting it together in SEC play. Season's not even close to being done, but dang, Kentucky's not looking very good this year. I believe they'll get it together, though. But Notre Dame pulled off some upsets this year that teams did not think they were going to be close in. Notre Dame's looked... It just depends on the day for Notre Dame. I don't believe in Virginia that much, so this is a game I'm seriously considering for taking college basketball upset of the day. 5:30, really game I'm not really considering that much. Nebraska sitting at 4-5, taking on number 25 Ohio State at Ohio State, sitting at 7-2 on the Big Ten Network. There's a reason why Ohio State's favored by 13. I really think this should be more. Nebraska's really just the absolute bottom tier of the Big Ten. There are 12 really good basketball teams. There's Penn State who can compete. And then there's Nebraska. Nebraska's just not a good basketball team. It's going to be really interesting. I think Ohio State is going to move forward. What I find so interesting about the Big Ten is it really is up for grabs. I thought at the beginning of the year, obviously you have Iowa. I thought you had Illinois was a contender. I thought Michigan State was a contender, and I thought another team was a contender. Wisconsin was a contender. It really is anyone's game at this point. I think there's a lot of teams that could win this thing. Michigan, Northwestern, Minnesota, Maryland. There's a lot of really good basketball teams in the Big Ten. Personally, I think it's probably going to end up being Iowa just because they look like the best team in the Big Ten. But I think it really is anyone's game. That's why I find it so interesting in the Big Ten. Ohio State has beaten Nebraska the last 4 times they've met. I think that's going to move to 5 because I just don't believe that much in Nebraska this year. And then we have 8 o'clock, number 7, Tennessee, and number 12, Missouri. Now, this is a really close one, too, because if you don't know, I think highly of Tennessee. I was doubting them coming into the year mainly because they were ranked so high to begin the year, and they hadn't even played a game. I'm not sure they should be ranked that high. They should have been ranked that high. This is a really good basketball team they've put together. I expect them to go on a run in March Madness time. They're a very good basketball team. Now, Missouri showed some flaws. They almost lost to Bradley at home, and if Bradley's not an absolute moron of a basketball team, they pull out that victory. It was a miracle that they did not win, which is insane. That game should not have been close. But it's insane. I really think Missouri's a decent team. It just depends on the day that you get them. On the day, some days they're able to beat Illinois in Oregon. On other days, they almost lose to Bradley. So, again, it depends on the day you get them. If they play well against Tennessee, they seriously have a chance of upsetting Tennessee here. But I'm going to go with the other pick. In college basketball upset of the day, mark this down. I'm sorry. It started 2 point. I have 2.5 points so far, with 1.5 points coming from Mondays. Awesome pick by yours truly to have Maryland upset Wisconsin, and then I ended up picking yesterday's Clemson Florida State game correctly. I only didn't get the 1.5 points though because the extra half point is for picking the biggest upset of the day, and 'twas not. It was Tulsa's upset Houston that was the biggest of the day. So I'm gonna pick. I have stuff to get one more win or a day with no upsets to clinch not having to do a dare, which my brother is desperately wanting to give to me. I'm going to pick Virginia against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a good basketball team, a decent basketball team. I just don't think Virginia's good. I think they're an overrated team. I think they're going to fall to 4-3, and people are going to start to realize that this isn't the Virginia Cavaliers that won 2 years ago. This isn't the Virginia Cavaliers that was really good last year. This is the Virginia Cavaliers of now. And the Virginia Cavaliers of now are not good. So, anyways, that's my selection. Write in the comments down if you disagree with me, if you're an angry Cavalier fan or a Red Raider fan or a Mountaineers fan. But hey everybody, this is GGB Culpepper saying adios amigos and go Fighting Irish.